Hello, Vudani here, and today I'm going to give you a PvP overview of the Guardian class in Guild Wars 2. Guardians are tanking powerhouses. They have many defensive abilities that affect themselves as well as their allies. They have many effects that'll give them retaliation, as well as reflect projectiles or block attacks. And the great thing about these defensive abilities is that they also usually affect allies. This makes the Guardian a very strong choice for anyone who would like to help their team, and almost always a valuable asset. The unique mechanic available to Guardians are called virtues. You'll have the Justice, Courage, and Resolve virtue available. Justice will be for offense, Courage for defense, and Resolve for healing. These virtues can be used to place a corresponding effect on yourself and allies. However, you can also leave them on cooldown ready to use, and they will periodically place effects on yourself. The general theme of the Guardian's weapon and slot skills is going to have a bit of defense in there. While you'll have very many offensive abilities, there will almost always be a defensive counterpart to those. For instance, every single 4 and 5 slot skill with the Guardian has some aspect of defense in it, whether it be creating a line that enemies cannot pass or just simply granting regeneration to allies. There's always a bit in there. This should not, however, lead you to believe that the Guardian is simply for defense. The Guardian does have limited burst abilities, but their damage over time is incredibly high. Guardians do not rely on long cooldowns to put out their damage. They're simply always in the fray, putting out a decent amount of pain to whoever's around. This balance of damage, support, and defense makes the Guardian incredibly good in 1 vs 1 situations. Not relying on long cooldowns will allow the Guardian to kill people one after another, and make them very good for holding points by themselves. Just because Guardians are good at 1v1, that doesn't mean they're bad at group fights. They have just as many abilities that will help in group fights as they do in a 1v1. This makes them great for leading a charge into a group of enemies, or coming in late to get some clutch revives. The Guardians do end up giving a few things up for all these defensive abilities. For one, they have no form of chill or cripple. However, they have multiple teleports to try and negate that, and they also have a very powerful scepter, but if you're in an all melee build, expect people to try to kite you. Another problem I have with this class is the virtue system is just a little too bland. You basically have these 3 buffs and 3 active abilities, but when you use them in practice, it really doesn't give that much flavor. The virtues themselves are very effective, it just doesn't give as much variety to the class. And lastly, the Guardian has the lowest base hit points in the game. You'll have multiple defensive abilities to negate that, and you probably won't even notice. It just has to be said. Overall, I consider the Guardian to be probably the most overall well-balanced class in the game. I give them a 4.5 out of 5. It's hard to argue their capability as a solo force in hot join matches. With so many defensive options and offensive options, they're pretty difficult to kill, and they pump out the damage. It's hard to argue the Guardian's effectiveness in tournament play, with almost every skill giving something to the team. The skills they provide are excellent for reviving and just generally pushing and defending points. With the amount of range damage that goes on in World vs. World, you would expect that their projectile reflex are incredibly valuable. Not only that, but all of their buffs affecting people nearby and even splashing in heals makes them very versatile. The Guardian becomes a perfect bodyguard for a group of ranged. As always, I hope this video was helpful. If you'd like to see a bit of Guardian gameplay, I'll link some videos I made on screen now. If you're interested in seeing more overviews, as well as builds, gameplay commentaries, and just general Guild Wars 2 theorycraft, feel free to subscribe. And thanks for watching!